Hey guys, welcome back to the Shay and Josh podcast. I am Shay, and
And
this
I
is our
am
amazing
Josh.
co-host, Josh.
Yeah, yeah,
I hope you
yeah.
guys have had a good week. I know I've had a good week so far. It's hump day. Just trying to get over the hump.
Yes, just a hump. And Thursday is almost upon us. What is it?
Exactly.
Playoff weekend in Kansas City? Woo, woo,
Well, you know what? I'm
woo.
mad I'm not in Kansas City to
I know.
enjoy. I mean, it's funny
Come on
because since I
home.
moved to Chicago, like I don't even watch football anymore because it's like it's so sad. But we're not going to get
Tired
into
of that.
that. We're getting into these topics tonight because we got a lineup for y'all. It's
Yes, we do.
2022 isn't playing, okay? It's not playing
22 is
around.
not
I we
playing.
we, we had a title of that because we are only 12 days into the year and it's feel like it's
12
already November
days.
20th,
Mm,
okay?
mm, mm, mm.
So let's get into it, Josh. First up, we got COVID.
Yeah, guys, COVID again. I know sometimes we don't want to talk about COVID, but we must talk about COVID because what COVID don't care. COVID don't
Right.
care if you don't want to talk about it. COVID's going to show up. COVID don't care.
Oh my gosh.
But
So, yeah, go ahead.
no, just want to talk about some of the updates that are happening right now within the numbers. Currently, right now, we're at 62 million reported cases in the U.S.
Wow.
1 million, a little bit over 1 million cases in Missouri alone. Um,
Wow.
16,000 deaths in Missouri. That's pretty sad. Across the U.S., hospitalizations doubled in 15 states over the past 2 weeks.
Wow.
So COVID don't care. You don't want to talk about it.
You
COVID
know what?
wants to talk.
Like I was telling somebody at work, Omicron is Omicroning. Like they
Yeah,
told us that this thing is contagious, even more contagious, and everybody's getting it. I'm feeling it
right.
at work. I'm feeling it with my friends. Like everybody's getting it, and I'm not really sure. I'm not shocked at Missouri
No,
numbers because they were very lax
very, very much
during
so.
COVID when it first came on the scene. So I'm not surprised that they are over a million cases of COVID. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then of course we got two new variants out there, which I did see an update that scientists with I think it's the Delta Cron, they coined it, think they made a mistake and don't know if it actually mutated into what
Oh,
it's to be called Delta Cron. So I have to kind of look more into that. But the Florona
Flurona.
has actually made its way stateside in California. I think that's where the first case showed up. And I'm just kind of like, I had the flu and I've had COVID. And I'm just like, I cannot imagine what this sucker would do. Like, I just cannot
Yeah.
imagine. So I hope you guys are staying safe, that you're wearing your mask, that you're washing your hands. If you choose to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you're not, I hope you're still just getting are protecting yourself. I know that here in Chicago, on January 3rd, Mayor Lightfoot introduced a new mandate that in order to go to gyms, bars, restaurants, you have to show proof of vaccination. And, a lot of people were not happy about that. I know they started in California. I know New York was, I think, one of the first ones, and then California, and I think Chicago is like the third city to do it. So it's very interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
but that vaccination card part is crazy. Is that I was in a barber shop, and across the barber shop, not many people were vaccinated. They were talking about it, and they were actually talking about having vaccine cards without actually being vaccinated. So, just a
that is a
sad thing.
thing.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
a
a
thing.
thing. How many people are faking vaccination cards?
Tim
It
tag
is
fakes, vaccine card fakes, like
not the tip
excuse my
tag fakes.
language, but niggas find a way. We find a way to get to where we gonna
Don't
go.
we? Don't we? You got the plug on the tip tag, now you got the plug on the vaccination cards. It's
And
a
he was
hot
like,
ass mess.
bro, you need a card. I'm like, nah, I got the vaccine, so I don't need the card. I'm good. I'm
Oh
good.
my God. I wonder how
Yeah.
they can tell which is a fake and which is like not real.
I don't know the ins and outs of criminal
But you know what? People
enterprise.
aren't even, people are not, when you go to your Starbucks, when you go to,
Yeah.
Applebee's or whatever these places you're going to, when you go into the Power and Light District or
Yeah.
even here in Chicago, they're not scanning it like they do at the casino. Okay.
Yeah.
They're not
That
scanning your
barista gonna
vaccine.
look at it, gonna be like, okay,
Right.
thank
Oh,
you.
okay. I see 2 doses. Boom. Go ahead and
Yeah.
sit your
I
ass
get
down
paid.
somewhere.
I get paid $15 an hour, sir. Take your card
Like,
back. Okay.
you know what? There's a restaurant. I'm not going to say the restaurant's name because last Saturday, me and David go to
Day
have our
nights.
little breakfast date,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if they gonna let me in just with the 1 dose. 'Cause I get my second dose tomorrow.
Right.
And so because David's like, I'm still gonna go have breakfast. I said, you can't go do us without me,
Without
And so
us.
and so I called. I was like, hey, so I know the mayor, introduced the vaccine mandate, and before I can even get it out my mouth, he's like, you don't need to show it. You ain't got
Okay.
to show it. I was like, oh, okay, we're on our way.
Right. My lord.
There are some businesses up here who are. I think one business actually got fined.
Yeah.
Uh, here recently. I think actually it was this week. There was a bar that got fined. Not too far from me for violating the mandate and not
Mhm.
as asking people to show proof of vaccination cards. So some people are just not giving a damn. A lot of people are over COVID.
Yeah.
And
That's
speaking of
true.
being over COVID, another of the things I feel like COVID was kind of like the root of it almost is the great resignation that,
Whew.
if people
Yeah.
have coins, and seeing a whole lot of that. I know a lot of people who have quit their jobs over COVID.
Yeah.
And some people are thankful for COVID because had it not have been for the shutdown and them actually just being stuck in their house, like they would have not had the courage to quit their jobs or to follow their dreams. But because of the great resignation, it is causing a lot of stress on a lot of jobs right now because they are so short staffed.
Yeah, Shay, it's like adversity, right? That's what we're facing right now, and
Right.
we talked about this. The Great Resignation is happening across the world, but here in the U.S., it's even happening in the Senate, the House of Representatives. Just people that with the tumultuous atmosphere right now, and then COVID and everything, people are just tired of being tired and they're just leaving. And you're leading into the point about what's going on with the shortages in the grocery store and how inflation is rising, and how your flights are being canceled. You book a flight because they don't
Right.
have people
They don't
to
have anybody at the gate.
they don't have anyone at the gate. And that's COVID as well. But people are picking up the what they have left of their decency because people have worked their whole life away for a job
Hmm.
that does not value them. And they're like, wait a minute. In COVID, you were
Right.
paying
Wait a
me
damn
$15
minute.
an hour and expect me to just come to work and through this virus and this pandemic and just pretend like it's not there. And they're not valued. So they're leaving. They're
No,
leaving. And
and you know what?
thank
You
God
you
for
bring
them.
up a good point about value because
Yeah.
even with COVID and the CDC and the new updated CD recommendations, people are even starting to notice like, okay, we really aren't valued because they even admitted on CNN on the news why they cut the isolation time and the quarantine that time down to 5 days. And that is to get people back to work quicker. And a lot of these companies have taken advantage of this because people are going to work with COVID. As long as they don't present a fever, they can have any other symptoms. But as long as they're not presenting a fever, people are having to go back to work.
Yeah.
Like how I'm like, I'd be damn if I was at work and I find out that somebody, you know, just because they're not showing a fever is at work with COVID. Like I had COVID and it was a horrible case of it. I don't want to experience that again.
Yeah.
And I work at a salon, and to think like you're touching people's hair, washing. It's like a lot of we're within the 6 feet of people, And so it's really crazy, these companies seeing people, even nurses, and that's the hospitals where they're seeing it hit the hardest, is that these nurses and these doctors are coming in with COVID because they're so short staffed. And like listening to these stories is just so sad that, it's all about, either that almighty dollar, or because, we're so short staffed, like you gotta come in. And this is just sad. People don't feel valued, and people, I've seen so many videos this week of people quitting and like, I just can't take it anymore. I gotta do me. I gotta, take care of my mental health. Like I just can't continue to the burnout, the
Yeah.
burnout. It's not like one of my affirmations this week was a burnout is not a flex. Okay.
Yeah.
Long ago are the
Burnout is
days where
not a
people are like,
flex.
I'm going to just burn out myself for the
Yeah.
job. And it's kind of like, no, they're over it.
Yeah, and that burnout leads to, we talked about this too, and we were gonna hit on it anyway. It's just that mental health and depression and things like that all across the country and the world right now. People are just dealing with lots of mental anguish and issues, and
Yeah.
COVID is not helping that at all. And just to be clear, the official guidelines from the CDC can be found at cdc.gov. They have a little link there. But basically, if you test positive for COVID-19 or have symptoms, regardless of vaccination status, stay home for at least 5 days. And stay isolate from others in your home. Will wear a well-fitted mask if you must be around others in your home. If you ended once you ended isolation and you had symptoms, and it's like confusing. And then we
It's so
talked about that.
confusing.
We
It's so
talked about that.
confusing.
And they really just need to break it down into simple terms. I don't know. People, we're all basic people. Like, give me just the bullet points or
Right.
something like that, a little Visio or something with just a little graph. But they had like 3 different columns and different. I'm just like, okay, well, I think I'm here, but I could be here. So that's where we're at right now. It's a bunch of confusing mess, but we are still happier to be here with the Joe Biden and the Kamala Harris administration versus the Trump administration and how they're
Right.
handling it. So,
Yes. All right. Moving on from COVID. Again, like we said, 2022 is not playing, y'all. We
right.
have had some more celebrity deaths. I mean,
We were just
oh
here
my
talking about Betty
God.
White last
We were
week. Betty
last
White.
week we were just talking about Betty White, and this week the great, the legendary, I mean, a trailblazer, someone who has really set the tone for black male actors in Hollywood, Sidney Poitier. I mean, oh my God. Like, and and David, he always had to bring me down, not bring me down like as a person, but he has to be like,
I know what you mean.
Marche, he was
Yeah.
94.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, but
Yeah.
still, it still
He was the
hurts.
original baby face. The original baby face. The
Yeah.
original.
He was the one that I think he was wasn't he one of the first black people to slap a white man on camera?
I don't
I
know.
think he was. I think he was.
I know he was old and he went through a lot and he is a trailblazer, and we are going to
Yeah.
once again Betty
Raisin
White
in the Sun,
passed.
one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Oh my God. And I haven't watched that in probably the last
It's been
15
a
to
minute for me.
17 years, but that movie
It was
it's a good
good.
movie, and if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. So,
Yes. And then we had Bob Saget. If you grew up
Mr. Full
in the
House.
90s like me,
Hmm.
you watch Full House, you watch America's Funniest Home Videos,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Bob Saget, oh my
Hmm.
God, like just funny. And he was relatively young. I think he was 68,
65. It
65.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, something around that. But young. And then they didn't find any that calls right now. No drugs was by them, or
No
they didn't
foul
find any sign
play.
of foul play. So it's like,
I'm
what
just like,
happened?
but you know what? I did read in an article that in his family there has been deaths of men in his family who just died suddenly. And
Oh,
so they're thinking that it may be along that lines. That's not for
hmm.
sure, but there's still going to be a
Was
couple
it a
weeks
heart
before they get the
attack or
full.
something? Heart related?
Some people are thinking it's a heart attack, but they
Okay.
don't know. We're not going to know for a couple weeks. But
Okay.
also moving on, James Batoon, if you don't know who he is,
Marche had
just
to
go.
tell me who he was, just to be honest. But
I
go ahead,
really did
tell
have
the
to
world.
tell him. But he sings the song Juicy Fruit. You
And I
know, the
know that
old
song.
school song, Juicy Fruit. Ah, juicy,
And you gotta sing the song and chew the
juicy.
gum at the same time. You gotta chew the
Exactly.
juicy fruit.
You know what? That's the only song I know of his, but I love that song.
Right.
Like so, but I grieve, and I just it's just sad when I hear anyone die. Like I just know what grief feels like,
Yeah.
and I just so like, and that's one of my favorite songs. I love it. And then we had Jesse D. Again, another person that I had to tell
Yeah.
Josh about, but he knew the song.
You ain't gotta just put me out there. I thought we were just gonna do it the first time, but she put me on the second time. But no, she's right.
At
I
least
didn't
there's
know
not
who
a
he
third
was.
time. I don't think
Yeah,
there
you're right.
is.
No, it was.
But
It was.
he was one of the members of Force MDs. And if you Force MDs, they sing the song "Tender Love." Tender love, love so tender. Yeah, that song right there. And they have a whole bunch of other hits. Well, I can't say a whole bunch of other hits, but that was
They
one
had
of
a
their
few
main
others.
hits.
Yeah.
But good music right there. They just don't like that good music like that anymore.
No,
But
they don't.
yeah, he passed last week, which is sad. And then Max Julian, I am a huge exploitation. Like I love watching black films. He was one of his main roles he did was in the Mac.
Mm.
I love the Mac. It's a really good movie. I was telling Josh before we started, I was like, I love his famous scene, and I quote it all the time. Even when I have to choose something, I always think about the Mac and how he stole. He didn't steal. The prostitute chose him, and
Okay.
in that scene, her other pimp was like, "Come here, bitch," like where you think you going? And the Mac stepped in. He's like, "Hold up, you know the rules of the game. Your bitch chose me." I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "Oh." Also, the great Richard Pryor is in that movie. It's a really good movie. Look at Josh. He's like, I just.
I don't watch this worldly movies.
So yes, it's like 2022 is not playing it. People are
No.
leaving. People are
Yeah.
leaving.
And that's kind of scary though, Shay, that people are just well, okay. So here's the thing, and I think you thank God for David. You having David to kind of bring you down because people have been dying forever. So people have been dying
Right,
like this forever. But what it is that it's social media and everything is out there, so we know about it so instantly. But
right,
we don't want to take away to say that some great people are leaving us, and or is it being pushed? Are they dying at a quicker rate now? I don't know. Maybe God is calling people home, saying it's time to come on home. They've been dealing with the world too much. But a lot of these people are older people. Except for Bob Saget, it's sad that we are
yeah,
living in grief right now amongst COVID. So it just
right,
pushes back in that mental space that we don't want to be. But there is life too, and death is just a part of that cycle. And everything
right,
that is here that lives must die, and that's something that at 35 or about to be 35 that you have to realize that everyone has to go. So don't be sad, people. They are in a better place, but it
right.
2022 ain't playing with us though. It's not playing with
Yeah,
us.
2022 is not playing with us. I totally agree with everything that you're saying with that. It's just that, one thing I think why it hits us so hard, of course, like
Yeah.
you said, it is social media. These are celebrities that we grew up with, or, we really enjoyed their movies, we really enjoyed their music, or they really had played a part at some point in our life, and we feel connected to it. I mean, I remember when I found it when Prince died. I mean, I cried like that whole day. Like,
Yeah.
so it's kind of
Whitney.
like, yeah, Whitney, Michael Jackson, all of them, and it's just a reminder, like you said,
Yeah.
like you just don't know when life is going to leave, when you're going to leave this earth, and so you just have to get up every day and live your life out loud, live the life you love, and just show up for yourself, for your family, for your friends, and just take it one day at a time. Really
I
maximize your
agree.
day, like so. yeah, shout out to all their family members who are grieving them at this time, and
Yeah.
just sending positive vibes, love, and comfort and peace as they grieve well during this process. Um, so yeah, all right, moving on. We have President Biden and Vice President Harris at Morehouse.
I'm a Morehouse man, so I have to, jump in and say that. And let me act like I just been Morehouse for the last 4 years. No, I got accepted last year and started in October, November. But there was a big thing to have them at Morehouse and
Yes,
for them to send us emails and things like that and be very engaged in this process. That's what HBCUs are all about. So yeah, they were
right.
there, Shay.
Yeah, I do have to say, I remember watching one of my favorite creators on TikTok. I like watching him, and he was really, excited to see President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris at Morehouse and visiting, HBC school. Um, but one of the things that he mentioned, which I was like, okay, I like agree with that, is like these the optics of it all. You
Yeah,
know, it's like, yeah, we're
dramatics.
glad that you're here,
Yeah,
but we need you to do this, you
yeah,
know. And I'm like, yeah, like he's very right. Like, I'm, grateful. Like it's awesome that you're visiting schools and want to do more for historically black colleges, you know. But we need y'all to have more action. And I understand that, the midterm elections are coming up, and, you know, I do believe that, you know, uh, candidates, especially, I feel like, race is such an issue right now. It's
it
a
is.
thing, to kind of, put yourself in front of, some black faces or a black audience to be like, oh, to show that, I need the black vote. And so, I think how he mentioned is like, I think it was definitely calculated, but I do think they were, genuine in their visit to want to visit
Right. Yeah,
Morehouse.
they were genuine, but you make a good point, and I think a lot of activists and things like that made this point very clear, and people like Stacey Abrams and other
Yeah,
black activists did not show up to this speech because they're in a position that I think we are at in 2022, and
yeah,
make this very clear that this is a great position to be in. It is time for us to actually put action to our words. We can talk
right,
into our faces blue, but until there's
right,
action where we can actually say that our rights for voting is actually secured and that there's no voter suppression and the racism and all those things are defeated, we cannot just give up. And so, yeah, it was a speech, and it was great to hear the speech, and I'm glad he was tough. But
yeah,
really, we learned this in school, and we learn it now. The president really is just a person in an office that they're powerful. They're one of the
yeah,
most powerful person in the country or in the world, but you have to have your Senate, your House representatives
yes,
to also back you up. And we are dealing with people like Joe Manchin still today in Kirsten Cinema. And so Joe Biden can
Joe
say all
Manchin.
of this, but at the end of the day, if they're not willing to break this filibuster,
Right,
rule in the Senate, we're not going to see change in the voting rights, and we're not going to see any of those things that Joe Biden wants to get off the ground go any further. So
right.
where are we at right now? I don't know. I don't know, Shay. I don't know where to tell them to go next, but I think that the only way for them to move forward is they have to convince those two senators to do something, and if they don't, then we're going to be
Yeah,
repeating this for another year. So
exactly. I totally agree. And what's so interesting, you bring up a good point about voter suppression, is that since Joe Biden has been in office, I believe it's 15 states
15.
have changed their voting rights,
It
like
might be
their voting rights.
19 actually. Yeah,
19, is it 19? Okay, yeah.
it's one
Have
of those, but you're right.
have changed
Yeah.
when it has introduced some type of voting rights bill that is going to suppress voters,
Yeah.
suppress people's votes, and it's just like, now is the time, people, like, you need to get behind the people within your city, within your state, and really be a voice. And I don't even know what to say about Joe Manchin. I have a feeling that when the energy I get from him is that he's loving this attention. I think he loves being like, do they think I'm going to side with the Democrats or am I going to side with the Republicans? I think he likes
Right.
playing this cat and mouse, this game, and it's so dangerous. And it's just like he needs to go.
Right.
Like he needs to go.
But
And
he won't go anywhere.
no, and it's so frustrating to see these people up in Washington playing with us
Playing in our
and
face.
playing in our face, making all this money and just delaying so much is so frustrating. And we have to use our voices. We have to use our voting power, and we have to get behind those people within our cities and within our state to really.
And we need to use the power of the coin. You said this. We said this
Yes,
last week.
the power of the
Powers in the
coin.
economy. Yeah.
Yep, there we go. I totally agree. Moving on from the uh voting suppression and all that stuff, is that we're still dealing with the insurrection hearings.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I was watching some of the hearings this week, and to hear them, I was listening to not Mitch McConnell. What's the other one name that I can't stand?
Oh,
Um,
Lindsey Graham
Lindsey Graham
and Cruz was in there too. So
and Cruz, and I'm like, tell me they did it. Why can't we do it too? Without telling me that we want to do it because they did it too. It's this comparison between the Black Lives Matter protest
right,
and the insurrection, and it was giving that type of energy. Like, well, the
right.
Black Lives Matter people got to protest. Like, why can't? And I'm kind of like, no, 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 no. Let's not. Let's not what we gonna do. Let's not act like that y'all committed treason. Okay,
It was
treason,
treason. Yeah.
treason. Okay, y'all want to talk about some damage y'all did? Y'all made 100. I mean, not 100, but $1 million in damages to the Capitol, to the capital of the United States,
To try to
U.S.
force
Capitol.
the votes to be chosen
Exactly.
differently in a
To be.
presidential election.
Thank you. And just listening to that on the floor, it was just so frustrating, and it's just goes to show how this whole conversation about Black Lives Matter and rioting, and people not really understanding, because I know a lot of people, especially a lot of non-black people, who just like, why would they want to tear up their own stuff? And the thing is like, I listened to this one girl's video, and she's like, ain't none of this shit ours. None of
You
it.
didn't give none of it to us. You won't
You
allow
didn't
us to
give.
have none of it.
You
You
won't
took
allow.
it
You
from
won't
us when
allow
you
to
gave
have
us any
us.
of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And and I remember, it's we try to use our voices. We try to do it peacefully. We try to do all these things. We try to kneel. We try to bring attention to so many things, and nothing's getting your attention. And so black people, black and brown people in this country get to a point where they're like, you know what, fuck it. All this can go.
Yeah.
All of it can go.
And what you say, that interesting point that I tie into is that, I mean, and I we don't. Just the truth. Where do we learn violence from? Um, and
Yeah.
and I mean this very respectfully, but if when and this is just history, when white people want something, they go out and they take it. They don't ask for it; they take it by force, and they
Yep.
do it by violent means. And I'm not saying anything was justified, because me and Shay, we are not on that. We don't believe that you get anywhere violence. But what we're saying is that every instance in history when violence is brought to a situation, in most cases, the war, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War
Yeah.
that even began the United States, it was a group of people standing up and actually fighting a war violently against another group, and they take everything. So yeah, we set some stuff on fire. Yeah, we might have thrown some rocks at you, but we were not beating you upside your head with poles and
Thank you.
flags.
Thank
We
you.
were not
Come on.
looking
Talk
for
about it.
Mike Pence to try to
Talk
hang
about it.
Mike Pence. We were not trying to do any of that. All the hell we
Right.
want you to do is to stop killing us. And you know what a hater is? So Mike Pence's fly is now in my damn house from the damn debate because we over here talking about some the Republicans. He sent his fly ass friend here to get me. But you're gonna have to continue. But you know what I mean. It's just
Yeah.
it's met with violence at every instance in history. But we throw a little fire around, and I'm not saying it's right, but we were not trying to kill anyone. We just wanted to destroy property to prove a point. But
Exactly.
here
And
we are.
and I remember having a conversation with, especially during the George Floyd, all the protests there,
Yeah.
and people coming to me like, because I'm, the token black person for some people in my circle, um, about how I felt about the rioting. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with it. And it's like, but they're burning stuff and they're destroying people's businesses and things like that. And it's like I understand their frustration and
Yeah.
anger. Like I get it, you know. And we get so Target has an insurance policy.
Yeah.
You know, the gas station has an insurance policy. And I'm not saying that this is, me saying like, okay, go out and go burn up a Target. No,
Right.
what I'm saying is, at what point are we going to say, okay, we don't want any more fires. We don't want any more fighting. Let's work together to get something done. Like,
Right.
let's actually hear them. Let's actually, and the thing is too, is that they know what needs to be done.
Shay,
And I think that's the frustrating
you
part.
hitting on the head. They know what
They
needs to be done.
know needs to be done. And I think that's the part that even frustrates me is like
Yeah.
I'm tired. Like, one of the things I seen on TikTok today is somebody like stitch this. What's one thing, black people need to hear right now? And I was like, I ended up stitching the video and I was like, what black people need to hear right now is that we need to stop giving books and articles and all these tools and resources to white people when they don't want to understand, when they're not trying to learn nothing. Like there's enough has gone on in history for they already know what the problem
Yeah.
is. They're just choosing not to understand. They're choosing not to address their problematic behaviors and their defense when it comes to the defensiveness when it comes to racism and discrimination. They're not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
No,
and that's
that
the part
that's
that's
just crazy.
frustrating is they know
Yeah.
what needs to be
Yeah.
done and they
Yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah. No, you hit it right on the head, and I want to go back to your point that you just made about 10 minutes ago. Is that what else do we have to do to get change in this country? I mean, they marched. They did sit outs. They sat in the front of the bus instead of the back. They sat there while you beat on them, while you ran water hoses on them, while you burnt their churches down, while you bombed their towns, while you burnt everything in the ground, while you took everything back, while you redlined their districts and their homes and denied them credit and what else do you want us to do? I mean, and then people paid with their life. MLK paid
Yes,
with his life. Malcolm
yes.
X paid with his life. So if all of these actions that we take and you take these people from us, what else do we have to do? I mean, I don't know what else we can do at this point.
I think
That's
one
where
of
I'm
the
at.
things you brought up was the coin.
Yeah,
The spending power that black Americans have in
yeah,
this country is astronomical.
it
How much money
is.
we
It
spend
is.
every
Yeah,
year. And we can end on this note and we'll move forward is that we as the black community can only overcome, get through, or see some type of change if we can work to collectively as a body, like an
right.
actual physical body. And the physical body is it's a very teachable thing because everything in our body has to work together for it to function. Like, the arm, like all the cells and blood vessels and all that stuff has to work together for me to have life. And within the Black community, there's so many other body parts that are isolated from the body, and they're trying to do their own thing. But if we can come together on one accord and function as a body, and really commit to, either we're gonna be like, you know what, we done spending here at this place, we not giving y'all this money, we gonna start putting our money in Black owned banks. Hello, shout out to One United Bank here in Chicago. They have other locations, but they're a Black owned bank. Really building up these, other companies that's trying to be like Amazon. These other
Right.
companies that are, these storefronts trying to be like, a Walmart or a groceries, Black grocery stores. It's like, I don't know. We just need to put our money there, because once we start investing in our own stuff, they're gonna be taking a hit, and they're gonna be like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute,
Right.
wait a minute, And I think that's part of it, but that is a very tall feat.
It is.
But hopefully, we can get there one day, and so we'll see, we'll see. Speaking of, while we're in the lane of Black people, I don't know how many people have seen the new show on Hulu called Women of the Movement.
Yeah, I
I have
haven't seen
not
it.
watched this show yet.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of videos of it up and down my timeline on my social media pages. I think the first story right now is the Emmett Till story with his mother, so focus really on her.
Hmm.
And I could not. And I understand, like, there's new generations coming up. They're learning all about, Emmett Till and all these, great women who was in the movement. But I couldn't bring myself to watch the show because it's like it is too much trauma for me. Like,
Yeah.
it was just too much. I just didn't want to see it. But I'm so glad that, the generations before, after me are, really want to get into it and get an understanding, and, really gain some knowledge about, what it was like back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, and I haven't watched it either, but I plan on watching it. It's important, just like you watch Hidden Colors and all these other great films that really highlight things that we just don't understand. So I will watch it, and I do encourage everyone else to watch it as well. And a lot of times, parents, and this is probably where on the other side of the fence, where they get upset with critical race theory and all of that, because they don't want their kids to see that a group of people, them, their families, let me not say them, their ancestors were some of the most hateful, dangerous, murderous people.
Hmm.
They don't want them to see that. And I just don't know, how do we not repeat history if we don't learn history? You get what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So,
Yeah.
uh, where are we going to go from here if we don't watch that? And then 15 years down the line, Timmy goes in and calls someone a nigger. It doesn't really understand the impact of that word. And it goes the same way with Black people. You can't go in and call someone a racial slur and think it doesn't hurt
Right.
them. And we're all one people, but we have to fix those things so that we can become a more perfect union. Because this country is a great country. It's just we have to continue to push forward, and that's what watching those types of documentaries and films will do, is give you insight to a world you don't have.
Exactly. And I think it's also one of the things that I thought about when you were just talking about that, is that when it comes to white people and their ancestors, I think, for me, one of the reasons I feel like they don't want to get into it is because they have to be confronted with the fact that that's in their lineage, right?
Right.
That, how do because they may not feel that they're that way. Like, I'm not this type of person, but it's
And that's
hard to kind of
fine.
wrap your mind around that
Right.
your ancestors were slave owners, or not. Let's not even take it all the way back to slave owners. Let's take it to Emmett Till, because that's, this is the mother of Emmett Till. She sent, they lived here in Chicago, sent her son to, was it Mississippi,
Yeah.
to visit family, and she got his body back, and I can't even describe how I don't want to say deformed. It's just jacked up his face, ear cut off, eye pulled.
Yeah.
It was so egregious,
Wasn't he
and
13,
the
14?
yeah, I think he was 14 years old, and the strength that she had to tell the funeral home, nope, I want an open casket, and I want you to
Right.
take pictures of his body because they will not believe me
Yeah.
if I tell them what they did to my son.
Yeah.
And those pictures are so powerful. And I think that's what it's hard for white people at time is that they have a hard time in accepting. And I think that acceptance only means that you're aware that this happened. I accept that this happened. Doesn't mean that you agree with it. I can accept that this happened, that my ancestors were these type of people, and I can break the cycle. I can break it. I don't have to be this type of person. I don't want to be this type of person, but I do want to, bring this type of change. I want to be a part of the movement, whatever the case may be. And so I'm interested, I didn't want to get into the Emmett Till one because like I just that was just too much for me. But I am interested in see what other women that they bring through this show because like it's gonna
Yeah.
be
But
um
you made a good point with there. You made a real good point that you said they don't want to be seen in that light. But imagine us as Black people um, looking back, and we are seen as slaves, and seen as what 3/4 of a person, 3/5,
mhm.
whatever the constitutional uh, quantitative effect of
Right.
what we were as a human being or a citizen in this country. We don't want to see that either. We don't want to I don't want to say live up to it, but I don't want to be a slave or have slaves in our lineage. But what we pull from that strength that they endured, and that strength is some of the strength that we need today because we got people that
Yes.
are just not breaking into that strength, and they are dealing with a lot of depression and things like that these days. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to say that it's just crazy that we were slaves and we all have to live with that and then move forward. So
Right. And I'll end on the topic on this because you made me think of something when you talking about how we see us. And I remember I used to when people used to say I'm not my ancestors, like I'll beat
yeah,
your ass. And I could never get with it when people
yeah,
would say it. Like I get what they was trying to say, but then I
yeah,
had to think about it. It's like, you know what, I am not my ancestors. Um in the sense of like, you know, uh in the sense of like when they were trying to make that point as if like the ancestors were weak, like they
right,
chose to be slaves, Kanye. Um,
yeah. They did
you
not choose.
know, like the strength it took for them, because like let's not act like that there was not, people like Harriet Tubman or Nat Turner or there's hundreds and hundreds of stories that I'm
Yeah,
sure that people escaped, people fought back, what I'm saying, that we have not heard of. And I
because
just
you
wanted to
killed them all. You killed them all.
exactly, you killed them. And so I was like, for those people who say that phrase, like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm not my ancestors, trust and believe there were some revolutionaries, okay? There was people
yeah,
that fought back, what I'm saying? And you don't know what you would do until you're in that situation. I couldn't
right.
imagine being a black family and a black man or a black woman and see your husband get traded to another family, to see your kids going off to another family, what I'm saying? And the strength that it took for you not to rebel, like, oh my God. So like trust and believe we was not weak, that we were strong, we still are, and we can pull from that strength, we can pull from that
Amen.
wisdom. So, stop it.
Amen.
But coming in, as we begin to wrap this up, it's just some positive black news. We want to
Always
make
good
sure
positive.
that after end of our shows, we get into some positive black news that you may have missed. Starting off with our girl Simone Sanders is headed to
Ooh.
MSNBC. Yes, I know, Josh is one of your favorite people. Up
Yeah,
the
it is, and the fact that I think we got introduced to her from the Bernie Sanders campaign that you and I talked
yeah,
about, and she was really good. I mean,
yeah,
like you said this last week, she would get those people together on national
right,
TV, and really, and you would get on TV, or I mean, you would open the channel, you'd be like, Who is this beautiful bald head
Black.
black woman
Okay.
commanding
Thank you.
the
Commanding
show?
the room.
So good that I mean, she eventually, left Bernie Sanders' campaign, went over to Vice President Kamala Harris
I really
staff,
thought she was going to
right?
be the house, the speaker,
The oh
this
yeah,
press, uh,
the press secretary, yeah,
the
yeah,
press secretary.
yeah.
But I
She could
thought
even
they
have
was
been
going to give it to,
deputy. They could even given her deputy, but
yeah. But she
whatever.
became the vice president.
But look at her
But
now. Actually,
but
she's
look at her
actually
now.
better now. Yeah.
Yes. So shout out to Simone Sanders. About to get her. I don't know if she's taking over someone's show or about to
No,
get
I
her
got
own
it.
show.
It's called The Choice, and it's on
The
Peacock.
choice.
Yeah.
Peacock. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, girl. Yes, I can't wait to
Right.
see her. Let's shout out to the judge in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. All three of their asses life.
Yeah.
Two
Life
of
in
them, the
prison.
father and the son, life in prison without the possibility of the parole. And
Yeah.
then the neighbor, I forget his name,
Who
he's life in
recorded?
prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, who recorded it? He's life in prison with the possibility of parole. Tell me I should have stayed my ass home that day without telling me I should have stayed my ass home that day.
He should have stay your ass home next time. Stay
but
your asses home.
but the judge got it right in this case
Yeah.
with the sentencing. And I do have to let you guys know that during the sentencing phase, he had the courtroom sit in silence for 1 minute so that everybody can realize how long Ahmaud was being chased. And 1 minute may not seem like a long time, but to just sit in silence and your mind, and I sat in silence for 1 minute, thinking like, oh my God, how long he was being chased, scared for his life. And so he got it right. They're going to jail.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just seen today. This blew. This is the audacity, and this is where the white privilege come for me. It's just like the audacity of their lawyers to try to convince the judge or to advocate for their clients that the sentencing is too harsh and not fair, and that prison is expensive, and they're going to miss out raising their children. I'm gonna need y'all to shut the fuck up, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
have to put it plain. I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
should have thought about that before you try to play this, police,
They tried to play
I'm
slave catcher, Marsha.
okay,
You
okay,
know,
slave
that's what
catcher.
they slave
Yeah,
catcher. Even though
yeah.
he wasn't a slave, but that's what they were treating us, and that's what the
Mm-hmm.
law that they were trying to apply to the situation was really engulfed in. It's slave catching,
Yeah.
and poor Ahmad. You said that point about they not being to raise their kids, but imagine his mother that she's not able to see her son have kids and help
Exactly.
raise them.
To see his
And
lineage keep going.
that was her only son, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I
I could
think
be
so.
wrong, but I thought that was her only son, at least the dad's only son. Shame on them. So they're gonna rot behind bars, and
Mm-hmm.
I hope Chico will one of them get them. I don't mean like get them like kill them, but I be get them.
Prison
Show them a
rough.
little bit. You know,
They gonna find their brotherhood up in prison. They gonna find their little
yeah.
Aryan brotherhood up
No,
in
I don't mean
prison.
that. I mean they need to go ahead and
Oh,
tickle their
I
little
know.
booty holes while
I
they,
know.
sorry, but they need to
Oh,
experience something. I don't want them to be dead. I just want them to experience something. Sorry.
okay. Um, Third up, we have the Black Sand Entertainment Group. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. I follow them on TikTok, and if you don't know, you need to go follow them as all the social media platforms. But they actually struck a deal on Shark Tank with Kevin
Ooh.
Hart and Mark Cuban for their group. They do animation. It's all Black themed. It's like Egyptian gods and warriors and all these characters. It is the bomb. And so shout out to
Nice.
them for getting the deal. I think they struck a $500,000 deal for what I think there's 30% stake in the company from Kevin Hart
Mm.
and Mark Cuban. And Kevin Hart is going to help them get their stuff out, their movies and all that. I just can't wait to see
So what
Um,
is it? I mean, what do they do really? Like, is it like superheroes or like
yeah,
they can
it's
do
like a
that?
bit of every. Yeah, it's
Okay.
everything from superheroes to, their characters looks like Egyptian gods. They just like some
Oh,
bad ass
okay.
characters, and it's all black owned, all black characters, all black animation. Like it is.
Good.
I'm super proud of them. So shout out to them for striking their
Woo,
deal
woo,
on Shark
woo.
Tank. And then lastly, this is positive black news, but I do have like an asterisk by it. And lastly,
An
is
asterisk.
that the great Maya Angelou will be the first black woman on the back of the U.S. Mint of the Quarter.
Hmm.
I When I first saw the news, I was like, "Shout out to Maya Angelou,"
Shout out to her. Shout out to
and
Black people.
then I was like, "But is this what we really want for the culture?"
That's not what we want. We don't care about no coin. We don't care about that, Shay. We
It's
talked
like
about this. They don't. We don't care.
exactly, exactly. I want to be so excited about this show. Like I really do. Like I've seen the quarter, it looks very beautiful, and then I'm like, she's on the back of the quarter. Like she ain't on the front and the back. Like we still got the slave master on the front. Like
I don't even like change, Shay. I don't even like
and then
change. It's
we in a
COVID,
change. We in a change shortage.
but it's COVID too. I don't want your
But
dirty hands and change and giving me back
uh,
change. I try to use card.
I think I'm going to get one. Just to have one, and
Me too for
you
that.
know but when I mean, you talked about this before,
Yeah.
the show, and we were just talking about like, if every time black people get into this, like, we need this, we want to see this, we
Yeah.
want to see this, like,
Yeah.
they give us a Harriet Tubman on $20 bill, they give us Joe
Which
Biden
still
going
ain't
down to
out.
Morehouse
Which still
College,
ain't
right,
out.
which still ain't out. They give us, Joe Biden going to Morehouse College, not saying
Yeah.
anything's wrong with that.
Yeah.
They give us these, we'll let this person out of
Optics, like you
jail,
said.
the optics, we'll give you, Maya Angelou on the back of a US,
Yeah.
mint on the quarter. And it's like, how is that directly impacting the black community for change? How is that
Change the
impacting systemic,
laws.
right? How is that changing laws? How is that combating systemic racism? Like, how is this dealing with, discrimination and all these things? Like, it's a beautiful coin, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that, yeah, that happened.
That is good though, Shay. It's just one of those things. You're just like, well, I imagine a racist out there. Oh, goddamn, it's a nigger coin. That's what's gonna happen. Really?
Yeah,
No, it's
that's real. That's
not.
facts. That's real. But like I said, we always want to end on with,
Yeah,
positive black news, and just, because our news don't get shared, and so we
it
want to
does
be
not.
able to share it. But we're coming at the end of the show, guys. We're we went over
It
a lot
is
of
the
things.
end of the road. I don't know. I'm trying to sing there.
Is you giving
So
us a tune?
yeah, people don't know this, but I had a very, very short career, and I mean very short. A group asked me to be a singer because their fourth member dropped out. We all got together, and it was like right after high school. We all got together and we started recording music. We were gonna get signed. We were going on tour to the Scream Tour with Chris Brown, Bow Wow, B2K,
What?
all of that. Swear to God. And then something happened. One of our members moved on to Arkansas or something because something happened in the family. And you will not believe, and this is really the true story. Day 26 was a group that basically came up and was the group that took over that tour with them that opened for the Scream Tour and everything. So yeah, just a little history. I was really supposed to be a
What
singer.
was the name of the group?
It was called Premiere. So
Why do I feel like I've heard
Premiere.
that?
Well, maybe not, but
Uh,
still, look, we can revamp it there. But I actually later on I met I worked at Children's Mercy for a brief moment just during the pandemic here recently, and the guy who was the supervisor there was my old group member. So for me and him to reconnect, and he don't really remember everything, but it was just cool. So I just wanted to say that.
oh,
Damn,
any
positive news.
well,
I almost James Brown. I was almost James Brown.
oh my God. Well, maybe one day you have to share some of that voice. One of y'all,
Oh no, it's gone. It is gone now, honey. It is
is he
gone.
gone?
This
Is it
voice is
gone?
full of Newports and blacks over the years. I don't do them anymore, but I'm just saying this voice is ruined.
You
Well,
got it honest. You got it honest. But hey, guys, that is the end of the
it
show.
is
Thank you
the
so
end.
much for joining us. We'll see
Next
you
week,
guys
next
next
week, next
week
week.
with all
Join
more good
us.
news. Join us,
Share,
share, like,
comment,
follow. Yes,
feedback.
comments. Yes. Yes. And
We
hopefully
like to grow.
soon,
Yeah.
yes, hopefully soon we'll have people on the show. So if you want to come on and discuss a topic or if there's something you want to talk about, let us know.
Yeah, shoot us
Let
an
us know.
inbox. And we will be
Yes.
posting this on Spotify tomorrow as well. And then we got some other exciting coming up platforms, and we'll talk about that next time.
All right. Good night, guys.
Bye,
See you
everyone.
later.
Bye.